Hi, and welcome to this training on search engine optimization. So this is the training on the 5 things, simple things that you can do to help your website move up through the ranks of Google. So I popped some slides together just because search engine optimization, or SEO, can be a pretty complicated topic. So I just wanted to prepare some slides just so it's a bit easier for me to walk you through these 5 things, and just to give a bit more explanation around how Google works and how some of the best ways to get your website up through those ranks. There's also some links at the end of the presentation. So I've got some tasks to do for you to do. So some practical tasks to help you implement those 5 things. And there's some links attributed to those, but I'll pop the links up the top of this video so you can easily access them. And also, please always love to get feedback on these videos. I really want to make sure that the training that I'm doing is really easy and practical for you to implement, because there's no point me talking at you about some marketing topic that there's just no way realistically that you can go and implement yourself. So I will just switch to the slides now, and I hope you enjoy it. So people go searching for things in what is called a search engine. So Google is a search engine, as is Bing and Yahoo. Google by far absolutely dominates. So as you can see, 75% of all searches done on desktops are done on Google, and 92% of mobile searches are done on Google. So there's around 3.5 billion searches per day on Google, which is massive. So SEO is a constant challenge because you're constantly trying to work out how Google is rating websites. So there are many, many factors, like hundreds of factors, that go into whether Google decides to rate your website highly and therefore push your website up through the pages of Google. So, even though there is Bing and Yahoo, because so many searches are done on Google, that is really the place that you need to concentrate most of your efforts on when it comes to search engine optimization. So SEO is the optimizing of your website that is free, and then things like Google Ads is the paid version to help or make sure that your website appears on page 1 of Google. So even though there's many, many, many pages of Google, every time you type a word in or a phrase into Google, there are thousands, if not millions of search results that come up. But 75% of people don't go past page 1. So you can have the most amazing website in the world, but if your website isn't appearing on page 1 when people search for a health practitioner or for an area of health or treatment related to you, then there's no one's going to come across you, no one's going to find you. So your website will just sit on, page 2 or 3, rarely, if ever, visited, which is certainly not what we want. So Google is like a big, massive filing system in a library, and it has billions of books and trillions of pages, and you need to help Google extract the right page by firstly making it really easy for Google to understand what your page or website is about, and then showing Google that your page is worthy of ranking. But as I said, understanding what Google considers worthy is an ongoing challenge. And this is why, people dedicate their whole lives. That sounds a little bit dramatic, but, people specialize in this area. So there are SEO experts. So in the big agencies, they will have people only working on SEO and constantly trying to keep up to date with what Google is doing and what Google wants you to do, to make sure that they view your website as a quality, reputable website. So there are some simple things that you can do to improve SEO and push your website up through the ranks. And these things are things that you can do yourself or a staff member can do. So they're simple, but they also have quite a big impact, and they continue to have a big impact. Google tends to continually like these things. So firstly is having regular new content. Google hates websites with out-of-date content, and it will trawl your website, and it knows how old your website information is. So, and that could be blog articles, it could be photos, it could be videos, it could be graphics. Your Google page load speed is really important as well. So that could just be the difference between, 1 second, 2 seconds, but there is a strong correlation between if your page speed is quite slow, people are impatient and they will leave pretty quickly. So Google really doesn't like you to have low page load speeds. But there is a few things, like some things that you would need to do does get a bit technical, but you can do some things like making sure if you have photos and images on your website to make sure they're not too big, because that can really slow things down. Google really likes internal and external link building. So links are where you click on a link to go somewhere else. So internal ones are the ones that link to another page on your website. So these are really important. So one thing when I'm working on a website, a health practitioner website, and we have a section on blog articles, I normally finish the blog article with, find out more about this treatment. So you're linking to other pages on that website that relate to that blog article. External link building is really good as well. So Google sees if you've got reputable websites linking to you, then it goes, oh, okay, if this reputable site is linking to this site must also be reputable, so we'll push it up a bit further. So if you had a university website linking to you, if you have the BBC or the ABC website linking to you, then that's really good. That's also very difficult to get. Often you're linking out to those places rather than in. Having a mobile-friendly and responsive website is critical. So Google brought in that rule maybe early 2016, where they really, really punish your website if you don't have a mobile-friendly version. And by mobile-friendly version, I mean, when you go to your website on your phone and everything just fits in properly on the screen, and so the website changes depending on what it's on. So it will look a bit differently on a desktop or a bit differently on a phone. A lot of companies will have mobile, not just mobile friendly, but different mobile versions, So if you use your banking bank app, the website looks different when you're using it on your phone. Google My Business also plays a really important role. So setting up a Google My Business account. So that means that you are verified by Google, you appear on Google Maps and in local listings, and Google loves that. Okay, so here are the tasks that I'm suggesting that you do in relation to those 5 simple things. And they should all hopefully be pretty easy for you to implement, but please get in touch if they're not. So if you don't have a blog article section on your website, you can either get one set up or you can just create a section where you're adding new pages or new articles. I recommend the more the better, but it also needs to be realistic. So if you can do even just a short 500 word article once a fortnight, that can be a really good way of keeping your website up to date. One thing I'm doing at the moment for a client is we're doing Saturday frequently asked questions. So every Saturday we upload a really short 300 to 400 word blog article on a frequently asked question. So he has a nurse working with him, so she writes that for me, which is great because it needs obviously clinical input. And then I use that to share it on social media on different platforms. So shrinking your images before loading is really important as well. So you can go to this URL called TinyJPEG, which I will show you. So it's just here. So you basically just drop your images. So I can find this. Here we go. There's a nice leaf. Pop it in there. And this website then compresses that image. Eventually I think the image I uploaded was very big because it was from Adobe Stock, I think. There we go. So when the panda puts up his arms and it's really excited, your image is ready. So you can just download that and then upload that image to your website. So the quality stays, you wouldn't know that there's a difference, but the image is a lot smaller, which means that will make sure that you're not slowing down your page load speed. So your next task is to add 5 internal links to your website. So go to your website and think about what pages relate to each other. And so within the content on that page, a link, so hyperlink to a page, another page on your website, and every time that you start adding those new articles or new information once a fortnight, make sure you're adding links in them as well. So task number 4. So now we're talking about external links. So I would start by thinking about 5 organizations or health practitioners that relate to you, that you feel comfortable asking them to link to your website. So depending on what you do, you might work with, say, nutritionists or dietitians. So you probably have some that you refer patients off to quite often, and you could ask them to make sure that they are linking to your website, and you will do the same in return. So number 5 is to check if your website is mobile friendly. So basically you just go to that link, which I will show you. So you can just literally grab the URL of your website's homepage and come and paste it in here, and then just click test. Excellent. Page is mobile friendly. That would have been embarrassing if it wasn't. So if it comes back that your page isn't mobile friendly, then I would really suggest looking at that. So you will have to talk to the personal agency who built your site probably. Unless you build it yourself, you might need to get a new one built. And obviously I know there's costs involved in that. It just makes such a difference to SEO, but also just to user experience, because if someone's trying to look through your website on their phone, which the majority of people are doing on their phone, and they just can't get around and they can't navigate and they can't find the contact, it's just going to really reduce the chance that they may take the next step and want to come and see you. And it also sort of affects your credibility as well if your website isn't looking super professional. And number 6 is setting up Google My Business. So that's where basically if you search replace on Google, then you'll see businesses like with a thing in Google Maps. So it's a pretty easy process to set up. So I'll pop this link up the top as well, but you basically just come here. So you'll need a Gmail account. So if you don't have one, it will just prompt you to set one up first, and it will just take you through step by step how to do that. And so then Google just wants to prove that your business is actually where you're saying it is. So it will give you an option to either send something in the mail, so a code to your fixed business address, or I think they still offer to do a phone call as well. So you'll just pop in the number and they'll give you a call and tell you the code. Cool, so that is it for this training. So I hope that was helpful. And as I said in the beginning, always love to get feedback. So please let me know what you think.